drivers, start your engine! Entering its 7th season, the Lapped Traffic Podcast has brought you over 300 shows, driver and media interviews, awesome stories and entertainment, and one of the coolest fantasy leagues around. Get ready for another exciting season. Sit back, relax, and try not to get lapped. Now, here's your host, the Professor, Brendan Crown.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 313 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor, Brandon Crowd. Oh, Al, I think you can already tell that my voice is not 100%. So the tweet I sent out last week was, in fact, legit. Get to that here in a second. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope all the fathers out there had a wonderful Father's Day weekend. Definitely enjoyed the day and the weekend myself. Got to play a quick 9-hole Sunday morning, which was awesome. 5 pars, by the way. Just going to throw that out there. Hung out with the fam during the day. In the afternoon, in-law, sister, brother-in-law, cousin came over, or niece came over, which was great. After a month off, I didn't plan on taking last week off. However, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Alden started daycare, which he didn't go 1 week before he got himself and Lindsay and myself sick. And then that turned into laryngitis somehow, for where I sounded like a 13-year-old boy going through puberty. So, like I said, as you can tell, I'm not 100% back, but I had to get some content out for you guys. Might be a little shorter of a show since we don't have any NASCAR racing to recap, so to speak, but definitely have some things to talk about, like who's going to be in the number 4 seat next year. And that's all right, because I can save my voice a little bit and get back to normal. And the last couple weeks, shows have been out on Monday, and that might be the new norm. That might help me be able to be more consistent for y'all. So, be on the lookout for Monday shows after 6.5 seasons of doing this thing on Tuesdays pretty routinely. The occasional Monday and or Thursday show thrown in the mix, but I think Monday could be the new date and time slot for this bad boy. So there's that little tidbit of information for everybody. So what's coming up tonight? Well, Chris Hacker is going to be back for his 3rd appearance on the show. And we'll just do a brief recap of where we're at across all 3 series. Like I said, I got a couple rando topics to throw in the mix as well. And we'll do some Lap Traffic Fantasy. So hopefully I do have a guest lined up for next week already. So there's that. And get back into the groove as we are into the summer here. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. Glad to have you along for the ride. So yeah, let's get Chris Hacker back on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his 3rd appearance on the show. He's racked up some solid finishes this year in both the Xfinity and Truck Series. The leader of Hack Nation. Welcome back to the show, Chris Hacker. What's up, brother? How are you?
Oh, not much, man. I'm doing good. How about you?
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming back on. Let's see, coming off an off weekend, Father's Day weekend. Did you get to do anything fun in the off week or this past weekend?
Just hung out with some buddies. My parents still live out in Indiana, so I wasn't able to spend time with my dad, sadly. But, all my other friends, their parents live out of state too, so we were able to spend time together and just, like you said, enjoy the off weekend and get ready for Nashville coming up here soon.
Absolutely. So, racing-wise, it's been kind of we'll call it a hodgepodge season so far. We've done some truck racing, some Xfinity racing, a couple runs in the Truck Series, an incredible performance at North Wilkesboro a couple weeks ago. Talk about that ride and that run there.
Yeah, it's been a pretty solid year this year for me. I would like to say North Wilkesboro was really awesome. I messed up a lot on qualifying, sadly, and it started us in the back. And I think it wasn't until about 40, 50 to go, we were a lap down pretty much the whole race. We had a mishap on pit road, which put us a lap down, but we got the lucky dog. And I think I was sitting maybe like 18th, 16th, 18th, coming to the green, white, and checkered, and then luckily was able to get the P12 there across the line. And so North Wilkesboro was awesome, though. It's honestly probably one of my favorite tracks to go to now. I just love how it races and how it wears every tire so much. It's a very driver-oriented racetrack.
Sure. And that's it's funny. I was talking about it on the show a little bit ago, just in terms of the types of tracks that drivers and the fans like, and it's the one that the drivers got to do something, right? And that's oversimplifying the process to the nth degree.
Yeah.
I understand, but those are the tracks that we're seeing the competition at, and we're seeing the good racing. So I'm glad you use that, because that's what we see at places like Darlington. That's what we see obviously at like the road courses. What was it like, you're a young guy, Chris, just knowing the history behind North Wilkesboro to go out there and compete, in the first race that, we haven't seen there in such a long time?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, I've never watched a racer, obviously, in my life. But, like growing up, I'm sure my dad did on TV and stuff like that. So just to be able to kind of be a part of the younger generation in NASCAR and being a part of what's bringing back the older generation of NASCAR is kind of cool to tie in together. I wouldn't really say I'm like a lot of other drivers. I'd say I'm pretty edgy and stuff like that. So it was just kind of cool to say that I was a part of something that had so much, history and such a story behind it.
Awesome. No, for sure. How could you not, right? What's prep like for something like that when, there's not recent film to watch? You've never been there before. How do you get ready for something like that?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time on the simulator with iRacing and stuff. But honestly, it was nothing like how it was on iRacing. Every other track I've been to so far has been pretty close. But North Wilkesboro is just a whole different thing. And I was a little worried about that, but so they had the late model races coming up before the NASCAR weekend and stuff like that. So I went to a couple of those just to kind of watch. Obviously, the late models and the trucks don't exactly drive the same, but being able to see the track like in person did help a lot before I got in it for practice. Luckily, we did have a longer practice that did help a lot too, and just trying to see what's going on. Just being in the environment helps a lot before getting into the seat.
Absolutely. Then you raced at Gateway. Talk about what happened there, going from the 30 truck to the 02 truck.
Yeah, so we needed to run St. Louis, and we had the opportunity to in the 02 truck, which I'm super thankful for Yost Motorsports to give me the opportunity. It's just like switching these teams around, it just like can kind of bear on you mentally once you get into like a routine, and then having to switch it back up. I wouldn't say it's like such a huge factor, but it does play a part. Having to learn how they do things, having to meet new faces again, yada, yada, yada.
In a short time span too, right?
Yeah. It was a very, very short time span. But we did good. I think we're sitting like, I don't even know, like maybe like I'd easily top 20 in practice, maybe top 15. I can't remember, honestly. We had a mishap in practice that ended our session early. We had an oil line blow, but we were able to get it back up and going for qualifying. I messed up myself a little bit on qualifying and had a pretty good start of the race. And then, just one thing after another, we just had bad luck on our side that weekend. And we were able to finish the race, but not where we should have overall. I was running top 15 lap times throughout the whole race, but just like I said, bad luck was on our side. And so we weren't able to show it on the finish. But, it was fun. It was fun to go back to St. Louis. That's where I made my debut in the truck series. So it was nice to go back there.
Cool. Good deal, man. What's next in the truck series? Anything coming up truck series side?
Next one for trucks is going to be IRP right now. If there's some openings beforehand, then I'll definitely try to hit them. But locked in for now is going to be IRP.
And who are you going to run that with?
That one we're still ironing it out, okay. But so I can't really say yet.
No worries.
No,
I got you. No worries there. IRP, that's another one of those tracks, right? That's one of them driver, got to show off the talent type tracks.
Oh yeah, IRP is up on my top 3 list. I grew up running late models there every now and then. And so for the trucks to be able to go back last year and then come again this year, it's going to be really cool. It means a lot to race somewhere like in my hometown that I've been able to do before. And not it like just being like the normal Indy race. I enjoy the short tracks a lot. I think that's where I'm able to perform my best at so far. So just being able to go back there is going to be really fun.
That's awesome, man. And then earlier this year, back in April, you made your debut in the Xfinity Series, finished 14th at Richmond, which is, again, awesome. What was it like making the switch from truck to your first Xfinity race, and talk about how that, ride came together?
Yeah, so I work with Joe a lot, and he obviously drives 38 for Ryan City Racing and stuff like that. So whenever he had his Gibbs ride at Richmond, luckily he gave me the opportunity to hop in the seat for him, and so did the Seeks. So I was able to get in the seat. A lot of iRacing prep again. A lot of film work and stuff like that. Just sitting down with everybody, trying to break down how the race should go. I'm sorry, there was a weather alert.
No worries.
Anyways, it was I don't know, it was weird because, like going into it, I'm used to the truck, so I didn't know how the Xfinity cars would really handle, except, from just what I was learning on iRacing. But, I went in there with a lot of confidence, knowing that I'd be with a good team, but still a lot of nerves with it being my debut Xfinity start. And then once I learned that practice and qualifying was canceled and all of that, I was like, okay, well, now the nerves are up even a little bit more.
Right.
So
now it's real green.
Yeah. I was like, okay, we're just gonna hop in and go at it. So, the first stage was mainly just learning the car and stuff like that. We were fighting being a little bit tight off center exit towards the beginning, and then after the second stage, we were able to get some long runs in, which helped me out a lot. I was able to be conservative on my tires and start making late run passes. And then, we crossed the line and he told me P14, and I was like, are you sure? I was like, you want to re-look at that real quick? I was like, are you sure? And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, sweet. I was like, that's awesome. It was really cool to be able to show that I was like, able to compete with these other guys and stuff like that. But so far, unless something happens, which I doubt it will, so far Xfinity cars are definitely more fun to drive to me. I think they're a lot more driver orientated, just like how short tracks are, but sure. You're able, if you're tight on exit with Xfinity cars, you can give it a little bit more throttle and break the rear end a little bit and stuff like that. You don't really have that opportunity to do it in the trucks. So sure. Xfinity cars are definitely my favorite.
So, I just got to go back. I just have to hammer home the impressiveness to, like Chris said, there was no practice. There was no qualifying. It's his debut at Richmond, which is a challenging track. And to go out there and just, slam dunk a P14, that's freaking awesome, man. That's very cool. What was it like working with Steve Addington for that race as your crew chief? Obviously, a ton of experience and a bunch of wins coming from him. What's it like when you get to work with a veteran crew chief like that?
Yeah, it was really cool, actually. When I first met him, I was trying to give my, best first impression towards him and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm a young kid, and he's been in this industry for a while. So when I first met him, I honestly don't think he was really feeling me too much. I think he's just like, okay, he's another kid. He's going to get in the race car.
Sure.
Do whatever, yada, yada, yada. But, we started getting into the race. I was giving a lot of feedback as much as I could, and we were making adjustments. And under cautions, I like to, kind of play around a little bit to help soften the mood with everything. So I'd crack a little joke here and there, stuff like that. But, after the race, he came up and he had a big smile on his face. And he was like, good job. I'm actually impressed. And I was like, that means a lot, coming from you, man. I was like, that means a lot. So he's a really, really smart guy. He knows what he's doing. And to be able to have the opportunity to work with him was really humbling, honestly.
That's awesome, man. Very cool. What's any Xfinity plans in the future for the rest of the year?
Yeah, we have another one coming up soon. We haven't really talked about it yet, so it's still on the down low. But yeah, we will have another one coming up eventually here.
Very cool. Very cool. Excited to see that. Chris, I want to wrap with the fact that Forbes magazine did a piece on you. I'm sure you saw that.
Yeah.
Did they tell you I read it and it looked like there were quotes, but I wasn't sure if they were quotes that you did with them or if they were quotes that they pulled from something else. So, tell me about it.
Yeah, so Emily from Morgan & Morgan, she's been doing an awesome job, trying to help me get my story out there with, things that are like kind of outside of racing, just to the general public on my brachial plexus injury. And so, she was able to tie it up, and it was weird, man. I mean, I don't even know if my parents know yet. I don't think I sent it to them, but like when she sent me like the little link, I was like, wipe my eyes a little bit and reread it. I was like, Forbes? I was like, okay. But yeah, we sat down with him. We were talking to him. It was like a little Zoom call and stuff like that. But it was really awesome. I would always tell my friends that my biggest flex in my racing career was my check mark on Instagram. But now I would probably have to say that being in an article on Forbes is probably my new biggest flex. So yeah, that was really awesome. I can't thank the Morgan & Morgan people enough for hooking that up for me and just, helping me out with my racing career in every which way. It was really cool.
That's awesome. I love it. And I put together a little soundbite teaser for social media. I will definitely be snipping that little 30-second blurb there for that for sure. So.
Yeah, sweet.
I love it. Chris, anything you want to plug, follow, or sponsors, anything you want to give a shout out to real quick?
Yeah, just Morgan & Morgan, honestly, they're a huge blessing to my life. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, I probably still wouldn't be a race car driver nowadays without them. And honestly, I would not have made my Xfinity debut yet without them. So with them just helping me out, like getting onto this track and stuff like that, I can't thank them enough. Alex, Dan Morgan, John Morgan, Jack Cook, he's the head birth injury lawyer at Morgan & Morgan. He does a great job with kids with brachial plexus injuries and stuff like that. Nate Blaisdell, Joey, April, all the FGR people, I can't thank them enough. And then last but certainly not least, my parents, for everything they've done for me in my life and getting me to where I'm at today. So it's just yeah, it's been a very, very blessed life, and hopefully we can keep on going after it.
I love it, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming back on the show and filling everybody in with what's been going on, and look forward to talking with you down the road, man.
I appreciate it a bunch. Thank you.
Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
See ya. All right. Great to catch back up with Chris. Let's do just some resets of where we're at across the series here. All three series are back this weekend at Nashville after the truck's having a couple weekends off, and I know I hit on this the last show, but it still just blows my mind how there's only 4 more races in the regular season truck series, and yet somehow they're still going to finish in November with everybody else. So Nashville this weekend. Mid-Ohio, Trucks put on a great race at Mid-Ohio. Trucks have been putting on a great race at Pocono as well, and then things close out for the regular season in the truck series at Richmond, which, I mean, Richmond's been a toss-up across all the series, I feel like. So we'll see what that one brings there. And then we've got the Xfinity Series back at Nashville again. I feel like we have this same conversation every year to where, midway through and we're not even midway through the summer, is our playoff field set in the Xfinity Series. Last year we got a spoiler with Jeremy Clements. Could he do that same thing again this year? He's back in 19th in the standings, so that's a good possibility there, as there's a couple more road courses on the mix, which I believe he won at Daytona, I think, too, so it wasn't even a road course that he got it done at last year. Ryan Sieg's on the outside looking in, Jeb Burton, Brandon Jones. So there are definitely a handful of guys that are outside the playoff grid, if you will, or the cut line, that are definitely going to want to have a say at this thing before it's all said and done. But, John Hunter, Austin Hill, Justin Allgaier, obviously your usual suspects. Sammy Smith, rookie in 8th. That's maybe something people didn't expect to see him so high on the standings. Daniel Hemrick, I tell you, since he won the damn championship, he just has not found rhythm. I feel like, he's on the cusp there as well. So, maybe it's not fully set, but we'll see what the Xfinity Series. It's been bringing us great racing. That's the awesome part of it, and we'll just have to see what kind of shakeup there still is. Over on the Cup side of things, Martin Truex Jr. leading the points and up there with wins, 2 wins after, it's a bounce back year, obviously, for Martin Truex Jr. Talks about is he going to be at Toyota next year? All crazy things there. And we still got a bunch of guys looking for their first win of the year. Chastain, Harvick, Buescher, Keselowski. Keselowski's still looking for his first win with RFK. Bubba Wallace in 15th. Bowman, I can't believe Bowman doesn't have a win yet. Granted, he missed a couple races. Suarez without a win and on the outside of the playoff grid at the moment. Ty Gibbs, McDowell, and Austin Cindric. He's all the way back in 21st, which is crazy. That team's definitely been struggling a little bit, maybe even since their Daytona win when he won a couple years ago. So we'll see what happens coming out of Nashville this weekend. Lots of buzz, lots of talk around the Chicago Street Course. Who knows what that is going to bring us, which kind of leads me into my what normally is the segment to ask you guys some questions, but we're gonna call it the silly season segment this week, and that is to kind of go over what are the probably 2 major headlines coming out of NASCAR, and that is the potential that we will not be returning to the Bristol Dirt Race next year, and all of God's people said amen. I'm pretty happy about that. I assume, just based on seeing Twitter from the followers of the show and in general, that most of the NASCAR fan base is got to be pretty happy about that. The question, the $1 million question then becomes, well, where do we go? And is it another, does Bristol keep 2 races? Do we get a spring race? Do they go somewhere else? And here's my thought on that. Bristol's obviously iconic. It's one of the tracks years ago. I would, when we were talking about the big schedule changes that were coming, it would have been one of the tracks that I'm like, no, Bristol needs 2 races. And I still would agree to that. However, if we're not going to change the package of the car to where the racing will be better, we're not going to go throw 100,000 people in there in March or April whenever they decide to do the spring race. It's typically been April, right around Easter the last couple of years with the dirt race. If we're not going to pack it with 100,000 with the current package and the racing's not going to be that great because they don't want to or they can't change, whatever the case may be around the rules package, that's a whole different conversation for another day, then I think you have to go somewhere else with it from a fan perspective anyways. We love short track racing. We love road course racing. I think there's a good mix of style tracks on the schedule from across even the super speedways, intermediates, all of that. I think we have a good mix. It's just a matter of, can we get some better quality racing at some of these tracks that should be producing for us? And like I said, if they're not going to make changes to the car, then let's go somewhere to where we can let's go to a new market that's just going to draw people into the venue and viewership on the TV because it's new. Let's do that. Worst case situation. Or let's go somewhere that, we know will produce some better racing. Where is that? I don't know. I wonder if they might do the Coliseum. That would be interesting since there's the inability to pit, all that kind of stuff. The Clash to kick the season off before Daytona this year wasn't as good as I felt it was in its inaugural performance there. So, all speculation, obviously. But I just think if we're not going to change the car, let's go somewhere else. Once we get it back, from a competition perspective for the short tracks, I will go to bat all day, every day that Bristol deserves 2 races a year. But in the meantime, I'm not opposed to going somewhere else. What are your guys' thoughts? I might even bring this back up next week if there's some response and feedback on that, and read some of your guys' responses. But there's my take there. The other tidbit of information is that supposedly Stewart Haas Racing is going to be having a media thing on Wednesday to announce Josh Berry replacing the 4 of Kevin Harvick. You know, I knew the inevitability was coming at some point in time. And, you know, I've just been secretly, you know, biting my nails, hoping that, you know, oh, you know what, I'm going to come back one more year, you know, something, right? And I knew that wasn't going to happen, but, you know, a fan can dream, right? Anyways, what do I feel about Josh Berry? I love Josh Berry. I think he lit the world on fire with his Martinsville win a couple years ago with, you know, Junior Motorsports filling in part-time, and has done great things. And it's not the flashy name. You know, it's not a Chase Elliott. It's not a Kyle Busch. It's not a name like that. But there's a lot of talent there. And I wonder if that's the move that they're going to make, which I think it's a smart move. I wonder what the next few pieces to fall in line once Almirola's gone. You know, who do they start replacing? Josh Berry's, you know, somewhat of a veteran, right? He's been in a race car for a very long time, even outside, you know, look past his NASCAR career. He's someone that can provide knowledge. He's someone that I think could provide, you know, that mentorship, you know, especially if Rodney sticks around. You know, this could be the rebuild that SHR needs to maybe get back to winning ways and to rebuild the stable, if you will. So I don't hate it. It's not flashy, and a lot of times the non-flashy moves end up being the right move. So I am very excited to see what Josh Berry is going to potentially be able to do in the number 4 car. More to have on the number 4 as the year winds up. As you guys know, very passionate number 4 fan for the win. Well before the podcast and all of that. So I'm sure there'll be some tears and onions cut before this thing is all said and done. All right, everybody, let's do a little Lap Traffic social media real quick. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. Leave a review, tell your friends, and don't forget, I've got free stickers and koozies. All you have to do is DM me, at me, go to the contact page on the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, fill it out with your name and address, and I will send one out for free. That's all you got to do. Very simple. Go show some of that lap traffic love at the racetrack, on the weekend, by the grill, with your buddies, with a awesome free koozie. So there you have that. Normally, this would be the time that we're doing catching up with lap traffic, talking to a fan that's been at this past weekend's race, but there were no races to be had this past weekend. So, yeah, it's time to close this thing out with a little lap traffic fantasy. I tell you what, it was nice not having to log picks this past week. Not even gonna shy away from that aspect. Just a reminder, get your picks in by 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time this Thursday for Nashville. Keep the Twitter interaction up using hashtag LTFantasy. Let's see. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, we had Andrew on who won segment 1. We'll do a quick recap here of where we're at in segment 2. In first place in segment 2 is Kurt Brockman, 372. Jonathan Lilly in second. Michael Mason in third. Kristen Haglund fourth. Andrew Studwell in fifth. Dan Sherwood sixth. Matthew Luddington in seventh. Matthew Kendrick in eighth, and Mark Luddington in ninth, and Dalton Brooks wraps out our top 10 in segment 2. Cumulative, I'm going to read through the top 16, even though we've expanded it this year. So beyond 16 will make the first cut of the playoffs, but here are our top 16 as they stand. In first with 1527, Jonathan Lilly. Second, 1525, Henry Fletcher. Third, Andrew Yu, 1515. Bent Wilson in fourth, 1492. John Etwinsel in fifth, 1479. Dan Sherwood, sixth, 1424. Kevin Hahn in seventh, 1422. Logan Cummins, 1421. G.R. Davison's in ninth with 1420. Pete Kervin in 10th with 1417. Look at that. Just 10 points separate first through 10th overall. Yours truly is in 11th, 1413. Scott Boysen 12th with 1412, along with Steven, DFS NASCAR guy. Michael Nebbia in 13th with 1411. Kristen Hoagland 14th, 1409. Jumpy Bob in 15th with 1405. And Mick Rose is 16th with 1398. Bonus points, Andrew Hughes got 10. Lisa, Matthew Kendrick, Pete Curvin all have 7. Benton Wilson, Jumpy Bob, G.R. Davidson, Henry Fletcher, Jonathan Lilly, Matt Dombrowski, Patty Coy, and Robert Riggs all have 6. And it goes on down from there. All right. I think it's time to do some picks. Lap Traffic Fantasy, we are headed back to Nashville for just the 3rd time in the Cup Series. And, you know, we went back we went back a long time ago, but they raced there a long time ago in the Xfinity Series, Truck Series, all of that. Since we've been racing there for the Cup Series, HMS and Chevy have both victories, with a lot of your favorites still looking for their first win of 2023. Nashville would be a pretty cool spot to get that checkered flag. Who can hold the momentum as we get deeper into segment 2 of Lap Traffic Fantasy? We'll find out this weekend. But first, it is time for my picks. In the Truck Series, I am going to play it safe and go with I'm playing it safe all across the board, FYI. Trucks, number 38, Zane Smith. Xfinity Series, going with number 20, John Hunter Nemechek. And in the Cup race, I am going to go with the 5 of Kyle Larson. So there you have my picks. Hopefully we'll get somebody on next week after we get this weekend's racing in. And there you have it. I am going to go drink a hot toddy and rest this voice. Sorry for the short show, but, we didn't have a whole lot to talk about this week. So hopefully next week, back to the usual shenanigans. That is going to do it for episode 313 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. Huge thanks to Chris Hacker for calling into the show today, and that's what I sound like my voice is doing right now. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.